He was drowning in silence until she pulled him from the dark. She thought he was just a stranger, but he was a billionaire CEO, hiding a secret that could destroy her entire world. What happens when the man you save is the one who's come to take everything? The sky had turned the color of bruised lavender, the lake still and quiet, too quiet. Evening wrapped the town in a heavy hush, broken only by the faint hum of cicadas and the gentle slap of water against the wooden dock. Lily Carter stood at the edge, her boots half off, toes curled over the weathered planks. She'd finished a double shift at the diner an hour ago, still smelling faintly of fries and cheap coffee. Her braid was loose, strands clinging to her face in the sticky summer air. But this was her ritual, coming here when no one else did, when the world felt small enough to carry. Her eyes lingered on the water. Same place, same hour, 3 years ago. Her brother went under and never came back up. She blinked hard. Then a splash. Sharp, sudden, violent. Her body moved before her mind could catch up. "Hey," she shouted, scanning the ripples. A hand flailed, then vanished beneath the surface. No, 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 she breathed and kicked off her boots, diving in fully clothed. The lake was colder than it looked. Her breath ceased. She kicked down, deeper into the darkness, searching. Her fingers brushed against cloth, then an arm. Heavy, limp. She grabbed tight and pulled, rising hard toward the fading sky. They surfaced in a messy panic, Lily gasping, dragging the stranger toward the dock ladder with one arm. He was unconscious, blood on his temple, drenched in expensive clothes that didn't belong out here. She got him onto the dock, pressed down on his chest. Come on, breathe." Water burst from his mouth, and he choked, coughing like he'd been holding his breath for years. Lily sank to her knees, soaked and shaking, watching him. He opened his eyes, blue and wild. For a second, they just stared at each other. Both still, both alive. "You okay?" she finally asked, voice hoarse. He didn't answer. He just stared up at the sky like he'd forgotten how to speak. And in that moment, under a bruised sky, soaked to the bone, heart pounding, Lily had no idea she just saved the life of a billionaire CEO running from a secret that could destroy hers. The clinic smelled like antiseptic and overcooked coffee. Fluorescent lights hummed overhead, casting a pale, washed-out glow. Lily sat in a plastic chair by the wall, arms crossed tight over her chest, hair still damp and curling at the ends. She hadn't even changed out of her wet clothes. On the bed lay the man she'd pulled from the lake, wrapped in blankets, his breathing steady but shallow. His face was lean and sharp under the bruising, with stubble that said he hadn't planned to see anyone today, or ever. The nurse adjusted his fore and looked at Lily. "He's stable. Mild hypothermia, concussion. Could have been worse. Could have been dead," Lily muttered. The nurse nodded gently, then left the room. Silence settled in. Lily glanced at him again, arms still folded. "You're lucky I was even out there," she said softly. "Nobody else goes near that lake after dark." He stirred, eyes opened, slow, blinking, trying to focus. "Where?" "You're at the clinic in Maple Hollow," she said, trying to sound casual, though her heart was still racing. "Small town. Not exactly on the map. You almost drowned. I dragged you out." A beat. His brow furrowed. "Drag me out?" Lily raised an eyebrow. "Yeah, you're welcome, by the way." He tried to sit up, wincing. "What's your name?" "Lily," she said simply. He hesitated. "I'm Dan." A pause too long. "Dan Rivers." She gave him a look. "You sure about that?" He offered a ghost of a smile, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Yeah, just foggy. You don't have a wallet. No phone. No keys. Nothing." Lily leaned forward. "You're either real unlucky or running from something." Dan looked away, jaw tightening. "Maybe both." They sat in silence again, thick and strange. Lily studied him, then let out a soft sigh. "Well, Dan, you've got a second chance. Try not to waste it." He looked up at her, something flickering in his eyes. Guilt? Gratitude? It was too early to tell. But deep down, Dan Cross, the real Dan, knew this wasn't just survival. It was the beginning of something he hadn't expected. Not rescue, redemption. And Lily Carter, The poor girl with tired eyes and a stubborn heart had no clue that the man she'd saved once signed the very deal that could rip her life apart. 3 days had passed since the lake. Dan, still Dan Rivers to everyone but himself, was staying in a back room at the diner. Thanks to Lily's insistence and the owner's reluctant kindness, he walked with a limp, talked little, and never let his guard down. But he helped wash dishes, wiped down tables, and didn't ask for anything more than a blanket and hot coffee. Maple Hollow was the kind of town where change came slow, unless it came like a wrecking ball. And right now, that's exactly what it felt like. Late one afternoon, Lily led Dan through Main Street, where the shops looked tired and the for sale signs multiplied like weeds. "You see that building?" Lily pointed to a faded brick storefront. "Used to be a bookstore. Mr. Garrison ran it since I was a kid. Had to shut down last month. Said he couldn't compete with what's coming." Dan glanced at her. "What is coming?" She exhaled. "Some corporate developer. Cross something. They're buying half the town, turning it into a lakeside resort. Hotels, upscale shops, even a damn golf course." Dan stiffened. The name Cross Tech rang in his ears like a warning bell. Lily kept walking. "Everyone's talking like it's progress, but no one around here can afford to stay if rent triples. The diner I work at? It's on the buyout list." He looked at her sideways. "You gonna let that happen?" Her eyes narrowed, defiant. "Not without a fight." Dan didn't say a word. Guilt gnawed at him like rust under the surface. He'd signed off on that project months ago, before everything fell apart. Back when he thought growth meant numbers, not lives. Now he was watching those numbers, those people, up close. Back at the diner that evening, Lily slid into the booth across from him with 2 mugs of coffee. "So," she asked, breaking the silence, "who are you really?" Dan sipped slowly. "Nobody important." She gave him a half smile. "Well, nobody important helped me fix the broken sink this morning and mop the floors without complaining. That's rare around here." He looked down, then back at her. "Why are you being so kind?" She shrugged. "You were drowning. What was I supposed to do, watch?" That hit him harder than she knew, because he had watched lives crumble, people pushed out, all in the name of progress. And now here he was, being offered kindness by the very girl whose world he was helping destroy. But Lily didn't know that yet. And Dan, he wasn't sure how long he could keep that truth buried. Days bled into weeks, and Dan Rivers became something of a quiet fixture in Maple Hollow. He fixed leaky pipes, carried crates, even started helping old Mrs. Winslow repaint the shutters on her porch. People didn't ask questions. They were just glad for the help. But it was Lily who kept him grounded. They shared morning coffees on the back steps of the diner, watching the town slowly wake. Lily would joke about regulars, talk about her shift, or sometimes just sit in silence. She never pried, never pushed, but Dan could feel it, that gentle pull. She trusted him, and he was starting to feel like he didn't deserve it. One evening, they sat by the lake again. The water shimmered under the soft orange of the setting sun. Lily tossed a pebble and watched the ripples spread. "My brother drowned here," she said quietly. 3 years ago." Dan turned to her, heart stuttering. "He was 17. We were supposed to meet that day, but I got caught up at work. Came late." Her voice tightened. "Found his bike by the dock. Just sitting there." Silence wrapped around them like fog. Lily smiled, bitter and soft. "So yeah, I'm here most nights. Feels like he's still around somehow." Dan's throat went dry. He wanted to tell her everything in that moment. His name, the company, the lake resort, all of it. But he couldn't. Not yet. Not when her eyes looked like that. "I'm sorry," he finally said, and he meant it more than she knew. She looked at him, studying him. "You carry something too. I can tell." He didn't deny it. She reached out, barely touching his hand. "Whatever it is, just don't drown in it." It was the first time since the accident, since the scandal, the headlines, the board meetings, and the silence, that Dan felt something crack open in his chest. A warmth, a flicker, a strange, terrifying hope. And still the secret waited, heavy beneath the surface. Because Lily Carter wasn't just the girl who saved him. She was the girl whose world he was still unknowingly set to destroy. The town hall was packed, not with celebration, but fear. Lily stood in the back, arms crossed, listening to the mayor stumble through corporate jargon. Progress, he kept saying. Growth. Economic revival. But to Lily, it sounded like goodbye. She'd come straight from work, apron still folded under her arm, hair pulled back, cheeks flushed from rushing. Dan hadn't shown up. He said he had a headache earlier. Or maybe he was just tired of watching everything fall apart. As the meeting dragged on, Lily slipped out. She wandered down the side hallway, needing air. That's when she noticed it, an open door. The mayor's office. She hesitated, then stepped inside. Papers were spread across the desk. Maps, contract printouts, permits. And there, half covered under a legal pad, something caught her eye. Crosstech Industries. She leaned in. Blueprints, land parcels, plans for demolition. Then she saw it, bold, unmistakable. Signature, Daniel A. Cross, CEO. Her heart dropped. No, it couldn't be. She grabbed the page, her hands trembling. Daniel, Dan, the man who fixed her sink, who drank coffee with her in the quiet, who held silence with her by the lake. He was Crosstech. He was the one tearing down the diner. He was the one pushing families out. He was the one she pulled from the water and welcomed into her life. And he had lied. All at once, the floor seemed to tilt. The room spun. Her throat closed. She let the document fall back to the desk and turned, moving fast, out the door, down the hall, into the night air. The world had gone quiet, but Lily's pulse pounded louder than ever. Everything about him, his silence, the lost look in his eyes, the way he never answered questions. It all made sense now. She had saved a drowning man, but he had come to drown her town. It was almost midnight when Lily stormed into the diner. The chairs were flipped, the lights half off, but Dan was there alone, drying mugs at the sink like nothing had happened. He looked up, and the smile he started to offer vanished when he saw her face. "You lied to me," Lily said, her voice shaking. "You lied." Dan set the mug down slowly. "Lily, just let me explain." "No," she snapped, stepping closer. "You let me pull you out of that lake. You let me bring you into my life. You let me believe you were just some lost soul trying to figure things out. But you're the reason we're losing everything." Dan's face paled, guilt written in every quiet line. "I found the papers," she said, biting her trembling lip. "Your signature. Your company. Crosstech. That's you, isn't it?" He didn't answer right away. And that silence, that was her answer. Lily let out a bitter laugh, tears brimming. "I told you about my brother. I trusted you. I brought you here," she pointed toward the back room, "and you never said a word." Dan stepped forward, voice low. "I didn't know you when I signed the deal. I swear. It was just another project. Numbers. Land. Nothing personal. To you, maybe," she shot back. "But this town is all some of us have. That diner? It kept my lights on through high school. The lake? That's where my brother's memory lives. These streets? They raised me." Her voice cracked. "But you're turning them into parking lots." He looked down, the weight of it crushing him. "I was running from everything. I didn't come here to hurt anyone. I came here to disappear. And yet you still managed to break more than you fixed," she whispered. Silence filled the space between them like floodwater. "I never meant to fall for this place," Dan finally said. "Or for you." Her jaw clenched. "But you did. And now I don't know which part of you is real." Dan looked at her, eyes glassy, voice raw. This is real." She turned away, her heart splintering. It was, and with that, she walked out into the night, leaving behind the man she had once believed she saved. But now she knew the truth. She hadn't saved him. Not really. The days that followed felt hollow. The diner buzzed with quiet whispers. People noticed Dan was gone. Lily didn't talk about it. She just showed up to work, did her shifts, and kept her head down. She smiled less, laughed even less. She tried to move on, but everywhere she looked, there was him. The booth where they shared coffee, the tool set he left behind, the lake still and waiting. And then one morning something changed. A brand new sign was nailed above the diner door. Carter's Place, now community owned. Below it, a plaque, gifted by the Cross Foundation. Lily stared at it, frozen. Inside, the owner held out a sealed envelope. "This came for you." Her hands trembled as she opened it. A handwritten note, simple and raw. "Lily, you saved my life before you knew who I was. Now I'm giving yours back, quietly and without asking for anything. I'm not the man I was when I signed that deal. I stepped down from the company. The resort's off. I've made sure this town is protected. I'm still learning how to deserve what you gave me, but I hope one day I can." Dan. Tears welled up in Lily's eyes. It wasn't just about money or buildings. It was about choice, and he had finally made the right one. Later that week, she walked back to the lake. The sky was soft with evening light, wind stirring the trees gently. She saw him there, standing by the water, hands in his pockets, eyes lowered like he wasn't sure if he had the right to look up. She stood beside him quietly. He turned, breath catching. "I wasn't sure if you'd come." "I almost didn't," she said. They stood in silence, the kind that says everything. "I'm not asking for anything," Dan said, voice quiet. "Just a chance to start over. Somewhere honest." Lily looked at him for a long time. Then she nodded. "Then start here," she said. But this time, no secrets. He smiled, soft and real. And this time, she didn't walk away. Because sometimes saving someone isn't about pulling them from the water. It's about showing them what's worth living for once they reach the shore.